Barbie is finally here, the fun summer blockbuster that will have you asking questions like, what was my experience with Barbie? Could Barbie Land really exist? Am I afraid of dying? Can you really critique a corporation that's also funding your movie? And if not, can you really have feminist messaging that's not also anti-capitalist? We'll talk about some of that later, but this is Greta Gerwig's technically fourth directorial effort. It was co-written by her and longtime artistic and life partner Noah Baumbach, the real-life Barbie and Ken. Barbie and Ken are having the time of their lives in the colorful and seemingly perfect world of Barbie Land. However, when they get a chance to go to the real world, they soon discover the joys and perils of living among humans. Before we really get into things, in all my videos right now, guys, I'd just like to call attention to the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strike that's going on right now. There's more in my community posts, but actors and writers are striking together for the first time in over 60 years. It's a really big deal. And I hope it goes without saying that I fully support the strike. Without all of these artists, all of the movies and TV shows that we love to talk about would not exist. So in all my videos while it's going on, I'll be pinning comments with resources for information and places to donate if you're able, and feel free to give some thoughts on it or ask questions below. But without further ado, let's discuss Barbie. So after weeks of this being hailed as a masterpiece on Twitter, I will admit that my expectations were sky high. Sometimes I just let them roam free. And in some ways it actually exceeded my expectations, and then in other ways it wasn't quite what I thought, and I definitely have some issues with it that we'll discuss. But I want to start off with the good, because I think the beginning and end are very strong, and maybe more prominently, this movie is really freaking funny. I saw some reviews saying that some jokes didn't land, and that was not an issue with my crowd at all. Anyone who's seen The Nice Guys knows that Ryan Gosling is a generational comedic talent, and he easily gets the most laughs as Ken. But don't sleep on Kate McKinnon, Issa Rae, Michael Cera as Alan. Kate McKinnon was a personal favorite for me as Weird Barbie. Her performance is hilarious, but the concept is also just so true. Her always being in the splits and having the botched hair. Just girly things. Little girls are weirdos. There's just so much cool detail in the way they execute the Barbies and Barbie Land. The way that little kids would play with Barbies and how everything is perfect and it's the best day ever and there's no water when she showers and she just floats down from her house. It's very meta, and all the parts in Barbie Land are just a blast. If this doesn't get the production design Oscar, I don't know what will. It's bright and plastic and just feels like that dazzling Barbie extravaganza. I also just love so many of the ideas here. It's a very witty and clever take on all of it, and I think it excels the most when it's deconstructing Barbie as an idea and her legacy. And at this junction where she and Ken go to the real world and she's being objectified, and Ken learns what the patriarchy is, because in Barbie Land, Kens aren't really respected or no one expects anything of them. And he realizes that he can be anything. So it's very balanced in that way of acknowledging that it's not right for either men or women to solely have control over something. And then it also just brings comedy gold to like Ken bringing the patriarchy back to Barbie Land and all of the Kens basically turning into fuckboys. I was literally crying laughing when Barbie goes to his Ken's like Mojo Dojo Casa house and he's like, can I play guitar at you? Because it's all just so true. I was waiting for him to say, want to look through my camera roll for 3 hours. So Ken is a total scene stealer. You're gonna be hearing that all over the place, but Margot Robbie is also phenomenal. Like, she is Barbie in the way that Halle Bailey is Ariel. But sadly, I don't think it's an Oscar-worthy performance, not because of her, but because she's not given as much to work with as I thought. And sometimes it even feels like she's not centered since the movie is juggling so much and so many characters. But to be fair, I don't think Ryan Gosling will get an Oscar nomination either. Maybe if the Oscars want to be silly, but it's rare that they nominate straight comedic roles like this. But the marketing has been literally insane, so who knows? And there are also a lot of just great individual scenes. Like when they first get to the real world, I'm Just Ken is so incredible. The opening tribute to 2001: A Space Odyssey is genius. Though I will say I don't know if we needed Helen Mirren's narration past that opening sequence. There's a sort of Barbie's heist montage that's really fun, a Ken battle on the beach, and never have I seen so many beautiful sets of teeth in a movie. But there were times where this movie lost me. I think thematically, it not only bites off more than it can chew, like it feels very overzealous, resulting in a pretty messy and unfocused midsection, but a lot of the messaging is really on the nose, and I'm trying to reckon with the fact that it's on purpose. Like, they obviously know they're doing it like that, and it's kind of part of the gimmick that Barbie is experiencing self-actualization and dropping these randomly philosophical sentences, but still a lot of it comes across as a little bit cringe or like telling, not showing. America Ferrera has a monologue about the contradictions and struggles of being a woman, like you have to be a leader, but then you're bossy and whatever, like stuff that's very, very real, but it just was not effective for me because it was so girl boss millennial feminism and can be found in like Tumblr art. But I don't think that that was Greta. I think there's a lot more like studio interference going on in this movie than people would like to admit, because then you have very serious, thoughtful moments that are so effective when Barbie is coming to as a person with like conscious thought and is kind of being guided there by other women. I cried in the first 30 minutes at this really, really simple moment where Barbie first gets to the real world and she sees an old woman, probably the first old woman she's ever seen, and without a second thought, she just says, "You're beautiful." That moment to me was so powerful because of its simplicity. There's just so much to that little interaction between two women who don't even know each other. And there's another one at the very end between Barbie and another old woman. I won't spoil who it is. And I'm definitely someone who feels very strongly about like women aging in society, but I think most people will find that ending portion very effective, and it's also where you can kind of feel some of Greta Gerwig's other inspirations, like The Truman Show, what have you. So I see all the angles, and I think they all serve a purpose in different moments, but it can give you a bit of tonal whiplash going from like this really insightful reflection on womanhood in society, and then like an adult satire, and then a spoon-feeding kids movie. And ultimately, I did find it distracting that this is still a toy commercial, and also at times a very blatant car commercial. And Mattel obviously had a lot of input on how they would be represented, and at times it does feel very corporate and shiny, and I think there's going to be this big thing of, oh my god, I can't believe Mattel let them get away with that. But is that not just a calculated decision by them based on today's culture to come across as self-aware? They call out that everyone in charge at Mattel is a man, which is true, but is this movie gonna change that? It's not egregious. Like, I'm not gonna deny the fun that I had just because it's foundationally a little bit corrupt, but I think it does make it feel a bit disingenuous at times. And I think it does put a cap on where you're able to go with the themes in this film. But I'm also not joining anyone who's calling Greta Gerwig a sellout for not only doing indie movies now. I'm actually on the opposite end of the spectrum, and where I want to emphasize how significant it is that a female director is helming a non-franchise blockbuster of this scale and of an IP this big. I mean, if we're gonna have someone doing this, I'd want it to be someone like her, because I go to the movies alone probably 95% of the time just because I go so often, but I took 3 of my girlfriends to see Barbie, and we not only had a super fun time, but we had a long walk home, and the whole time we were talking about what we liked and what we didn't like, but also our experiences as women and little girls and with Barbie, and I think that totally has value. And I also don't say that to just say that it has value for women. I think there's value to be found in it for everyone. So overall, it's just an extremely fun and funny movie that has some great moments where you can really feel that Greta Gerwig sentiment peeking through. And in many ways, it is so inventive and surprising that this movie got pulled off, but it still has many limitations as a movie that is tackling such big concepts under a corporate or IP umbrella. I really do think that is kind of what muddled things here. So I'm going to give Barbie 3.5 out of 5 stars. That's still good, just maybe not the 5-star masterpiece that Twitter led some of us to believe. But for me, one half of Oppenheimer is complete. There was a lot more I could have talked about in this review, but I'm seeing Oppenheimer in a matter of hours. So let me know your thoughts on Barbie, guys. Do you plan on seeing it in theaters? And if you are doing the double feature, let me know what order you're seeing them in. I'm kind of glad that I saw them on 2 different days. That would have been a lot for me. But don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.